Hi, this is Alex from devstories.eu. OpenAPI and Swagger Ecosystem, Episode 4 of 19. If your API goes down, how does a consumer know who to contact? The answer lies at the very top of your spec. We are talking about setting the stage info and servers. Before a developer ever makes a request or inspects a data model, they need context. The info and server objects provide exactly that. Think of them as the cover page and the address book of your API. The info object is your metadata hub. Two fields here are strictly required. First is the title, which is simply the human-readable name of your application. Second is the version. People often mix this up with the OpenAPI specification version. They are entirely separate. The OpenAPI version tells the parser which set of syntax rules to follow. The info version is your own API release number, something like 1.0.5. It tells the consumer which iteration of the product they are looking at. Beyond the required fields, the info object lets you add context. You can include a description, which supports common mark formatting. This allows you to write detailed, readable documentation with paragraphs and links right inside the spec. You can also define a contact object containing a name, a URL, and an email address. If something breaks or a developer needs access, this tells them exactly where to go. Finally, the license object allows you to specify the legal terms under which the API operates, requiring a name and optionally a URL pointing to the license text. Once the info object establishes what the API is, the servers array tells the consumer where it lives. Without this, consumers know what your API does but not where to find it. You provide an array of server objects representing the different environments where your API is hosted. Each server object requires a single field, which is the URL. Here's the key insight. You are not limited to a single base URL. You can define multiple server entries to reflect your actual infrastructure. For example, your first server object might contain your production URL using a secure HTTPS address, with a description explicitly labeling it as the live production environment. Your second server object could point to a staging or sandbox URL, with a description noting it is strictly for testing. When you structure your servers this way, interactive documentation tools and client generators become much more powerful. Instead of forcing a developer to manually configure the base URL for every request, they can just select staging or production from a drop-down menu in their interface. The tools parse your server's array and automatically route the requests to the correct host. You can also use relative URLs if your OpenAPI document is hosted directly on the server that provides the API. This makes it easier to deploy the exact same specification file across different environments without constantly updating the host address. Defining accurate info and server objects means your API is not just a loose collection of operations, but a fully identified, legally clear, and physically locatable service. The quality of any automated integration will depend entirely on the accuracy of these base URLs. That is all for this one. Thanks for listening and keep building.